FPS PvP. This is the working title of a video game I'm trying to make. Very bare bones, no graphics, very simple. So let's get into it. So, need a quote. I'm willing to offer $1,000 for what I'm about to describe and pay $30 a month for PvP server rental. If it costs a lot more than this, I will probably make a Kickstarter to secure funding. And if that doesn't work, I may have to learn to program computers. Not so much as this a bid, but also consultation too. So, are there ongoing maintenance fees that are necessary for software stability, or is it set it and forget it? The game is basically 15 versus 15 on a soccer field where all players are basically cylinders and everyone just shoots lasers from their heads 24/7. I'll start off talking about the parameters and the confines of the software, then end it with what the game actually is. I have a very simple version of the application just to see how much money a bare bones version would cost. The project stems from my hatred of Overwatch, specifically about the ladder and the guilds, and just a little bit about the balancing and the design decisions. I have 8 hours of me complaining about Overwatch on this YouTube channel, Rex Overwatch. If you really want to delve deep into my PvP philosophy. So additions will be added to the project as time goes by, but this project is just for the ground framework to build upon. Need a quote. Please forgive my ignorance of computers. I am but a simple carpenter. I have done minimal programming in QBasic on a 386 and on a 486. So it must be in C++ or Python or QBasic or Java or Fortran. I don't know. It can't be Unreal and it can't be Unity or Goldo or whatever that, none of these engines, right? It has to be, I think in C++, right? Because this is what 3D games are programmed from. And there's going to be layers added and built upon over time. But I'm just trying to get a quote for the bare bones of what I'm talking about. So it's got to be open source. All put on GitHub. No patents or copyrights, and you can steal my idea if you want. Guarding the code. Do you and I have a password to GitHub to make future changes to the executable application? Whoever programs the computer, they can put viruses in it, unless it's browser based. I don't know. I'll need a little consultation from you on this. So um, do I have the password right when we write the code? Right, I don't want you putting viruses in the computer. So, hopefully you can talk me through this and see what's going on. But it must be in the Steam store or Newgrounds or Xbox or mobile, browser based. I'll need consultation from you about which is the best way to go. I don't want the executable downloaded from my own website because of phishing trojans, viruses. The game will not have a website yet, although I can buy or host one just to retain the URL. This isn't so important to me right now, right? So, um, I want the application to be publishable and published on the Steam store, maybe, right? So you can't put viruses in it. I hope you understand what I'm saying there. But also, how much to run the servers? Do we have one in Chicago or two? One in LA and New York? You let me know. I'll pay hopefully five a month. He told me. Need something to stop the robots from clogging up the servers. How many 15 versus 15 can the server host at once? Tag Pro to look at. No peer to peer. Um, like Tag Pro is a very, very simple game, and it has servers. They're probably doing it for very, very cheap. It would be something like this if you there's a game called Tag Pro, and it's capture the flag 4v4, and everybody's the marbles, right? So I'm assuming that it's relatively easy to do this type of thing. It seems like a very bare bones game. So no usernames. You can push start from the splash screen, maybe browser based, maybe executable file on the Steam store, Switch, Windows, Mac, Xbox, PC, etc. So, no usernames as of yet, right? You just go to the start screen, you push start, and your match is made, right? So, um, yeah. We'll have usernames and passwords in the future, right? But just for now, just the bare bones, nothing like that. Scoreboards later. minimap later, keybind menu later, voice comms later. I would want a little bit. You'd have to tell me about how the voice. I would want in-game voice comms, right? But not now, not now, right? More about the ladder and the monetization in the next videos. But for now, I wouldn't be against having a ton of Google AdSense and donation buttons on the splash screen, right? Like if we're going to make this, might as well put Google Ads on the front, or you know, and there could be a public, a Bitcoin pool, or I don't know. It's not so important right now. This is, like I said, this is a request for a consultation too, as much as a bid request. But so as you can probably tell, I have little to no clue what I'm talking about. So I'll make the project very, very simple and ask how much it will cost. All I want is a football field with 15 by 15 cylinders, collision detection between the cylinders. How much will this cost? How much work will this entail? So if we have one server in Chicago and 15 by 15 versus 15 cylinders on a football field, and they have collision detection, meaning you can't pass through each other, right? How much would that cost? The cylinders are 6 foot tall by 2 foot wide. Enemy's red, your team's blue, the field's green. Wireframes, right? No lasers or no hit points, no nothing. Just how much would that cost, right? There is no game there, right? It's just 15 by 15, 15 versus 15, right? So, okay, so now I will continue on to what the less but still quite basic game is. So, I asked for that bid, right? How much would that cost? But now, let's put a game inside of it so we can start building upon it. Very, very simple, right? So, wireframes, right? So, the game would be, we're blue, and the enemy's red, and the field's green, and 15 versus 15 with lasers shooting out from your head. The crosshairs, right? You don't even have to push the mouse button, right? The laser just shoots out. And the playing field size, it's a football field or whatever. We can do yards or meters. It's not a big deal. I'm sure it's easy to change, hopefully. And here's my sampling size of the ratios of common fields. And then the player size is 2 foot wide by 6 foot tall cylinder with a 1 foot hitbox on the head, 2 times critical. Maybe not even critical. Critical hits are started out. It doesn't really matter. This is just the groundwork to get a game going, right? So I did all this research, right? It seems that just the average person can jog 100 yards in 14 seconds, right? So this is the the speed at which they run, right? And yeah, so and everyone's just perpetually jogging, right? There's no walking or sprinting, right? Everyone's just jogging. So now, if these are easy to program in, I wouldn't be opposed to them. But you know, let's just keep it very cheap and very simple for now, right? So yeah, obviously crouch, and I want prone, right, and jump. So we got crouch, it's all later date. So and here's kind of like the mechanics of how it makes it a game, right? So lasers come from your head or your crosshair. Laser does 100 DPS, right? So if I hold the laser on you for 1 second, it is dealing 100 points of damage. We can talk about tick rates and everything, but laser does 100 points of damage, and the players have 1,000 hit points. 2 times crit, headshot maybe. These lasers also heal targets, right? So they also heal for 100 points if you hold it on your teammates. And I need to know what is least computer intensive, where the laser stops when it hits someone, or if it goes through all targets when it hits someone. So this is where your expertise will come in. Which would be less taxing on the CPU, right? If if I hit it if I hit an enemy and there's one standing directly behind them, so I hit that enemy and the laser goes through and it's dealing both of them 100 points of damage per second, Or would it be less CPU intensive to have that laser stop at the first one it hits and not damage the person behind them? But I'm up in the air of what the final decision would be, but it's just a question I have about computer programming. So, and here, with all that being said, here's the rules of the game, right? So how the game actually works. So you gotta get yards, not touchdowns, but touchdowns respawn you at the back of your end zone. And a lineman scrimmage marker helps you keep track of your furthest yardage. So the way the game works, right? You can shoot people. There's two ways to respawn, right? You either get a touchdown or you get killed, right? So when you get a touchdown, it's not worth any extra points. It just starts you back, right? So let's say you start the game and you run 25 yards and you get killed. Well, there would be a marker there to let you know that you need to get past that to increase your yardage, total yardage. The object of the game is to get for your team to get the most yards. Touchdowns aren't extra or anything like this. So, and the match is 5 to 10 minutes. I don't know, or 10,000 points, 10,000 yards. I don't care. This not matters too much. The match is if it's 5 minutes, whoever has the most yardage at the end wins. More yards wins. You can see everyone's lasers. This is important and kind of cool. So everyone's lasers are shooting out of their heads, right? 24/7. You don't need to push the mouse button down. They're just always shooting out. And you can see all 29 lasers, besides yours, right? Because yours is going down your own crosshair. But, you know, and the X, Y, and Z axis, you can aim, even though there wouldn't, there's not a high ground, so it wouldn't be necessary to aim up or down so much, but you can still see it, right? So, this would be kind of cool to see how computer intensive this kind of thing would be in a multiplayer PvP server, right? This can be some toggleable between server and client view, hitboxes, etc. Netcode. Favor the shooter. Do it like the rules for Overwatch does it, right? I know netcode and favor the shooter, but you cannot in Overwatch you cannot toggle between what the client sees and what the server sees. And I would think this would be a good option, even if you leave it on client view all the time. You should be able to see what the server sees. So, and I have a plan for capture the flag in Node, which is Arathi Basin, and character classes. This is much later, right? And so we don't get copyright busted. We can use the D&D 3.5 system reference document for the character classes, abilities, and spells, stuff like this. This is all much later, right? So, I have a good idea to show how unlimited crowd control is doable. If all 14 players aim a slow laser at one enemy, he's perma-stunned. And this is fine, although it's not fun. But I have a problem with the way that Blizzard shies away from crowd control in PvP, and I think this is incorrect philosophy on how to do it. But nevertheless, so the main reason before I say this, the way the matches are made, right? You just like as soon as there's 30 people in queue, the match is made. There is no SBMM or nothing, right? It's just automatic queues. If there's 29 people in the queue and it takes another half hour for someone else to join, too bad, right? It's just the first 30 people in the queue make a match and so on and so forth, right? So this is the end here. The main reason I'm trying to make this game is to demonstrate the proper way to do a PvP ladder and how to use guilds and friends lists and LFGs. So I'll probably draw all that up in the next video. But it's all depending on how much this actual game will cost. So the reason why I'm making this game is to show how to do PvP correctly, right? Quote unquote correctly, with ladders, public information, the guilds, not so much guilds, but choosing your own teammates, right? Not being beholden to the matchmaker, right? So I have a real big problem with the way Overwatch works when it comes to the actual aspect of PvP. right? So this is the aim of the project, but you have to come up with some type of game, right, to show how it all works. So that's why I'm requesting this bid here, right? So if anybody wants $1,000 and you can make this for me, we got a deal. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.